In the heart of a bustling city stood a grand hotel, its towering structure gleaming under the sunlight. The building was a hub of activity, with guests arriving from every corner of the globe. Inside, the air buzzed with conversations in countless languages: English, French, Spanish, Arabic, Mandarin, and more. It was a place where cultures collided, stories unfolded, and lives intertwined. Among the staff who kept this magnificent establishment running smoothly was Elena, a cleaner whose name was rarely spoken but whose work was always appreciated. Elena had been working at the hotel for 5 years. She wasn't one to draw attention to herself. Instead, she preferred to stay in the background, quietly doing her job. Every morning she would arrive at the hotel dressed in her crisp uniform, armed with cleaning supplies, ready to tackle the day's tasks. Her routine was simple: sweep, mop, dust, and polish. But despite the monotony of her work, Elena found joy in the little things. She loved the way the sunlight streamed through the windows, illuminating the polished floors. She enjoyed listening to the distant hum of conversations as guests passed by. And most of all, she cherished the moments when she could lose herself in her thoughts while working. One particular afternoon, Elena was assigned to clean a suite on the top floor. The room was spacious, with large windows offering a breathtaking view of the city skyline. As she worked, she began humming softly to herself, a habit she had developed over the years. Humming helped her focus, and it made the hours pass more quickly. But today, something unusual happened. Without even realizing it, Elena started speaking aloud, switching between different languages as if they were second nature to her. At first, she muttered in French, reminiscing about a book she had read the night before. Then, as she moved to the next section of the room, she switched to Spanish, recalling a recipe she wanted to try. Before long, she was reciting Italian phrases she had learned from an old movie, followed by German words she had picked up during a brief visit to Berlin. Her voice was soft, almost a whisper, but the clarity and fluency of her speech were unmistakable. To anyone listening, it would seem as though multiple people were speaking in the room. Unbeknownst to Elena, someone was listening. Mr. Langley, the hotel owner, happened to be walking down the corridor outside the suite. A tall man with sharp features and an impeccable suit. Mr. Langley was known for his keen eye for detail and his ability to spot potential in others. He had just finished meeting with a group of investors and was making his way back to his office when he heard the faint sound of voices coming from the suite. Curious, he paused outside the door and listened more closely. What he heard astonished him. The person inside the room wasn't just speaking in one language. They were switching between several, effortlessly and naturally. Intrigued, Mr. Langley stepped into the doorway and observed Elena at work. She hadn't noticed him yet, completely absorbed in her task. As she cleaned, she continued muttering phrases in various languages, moving from Mandarin to Russian, then to Arabic, and finally, to Portuguese. Each transition was seamless, as if she had been speaking these languages her entire life. Mr. Langley couldn't believe what he was witnessing. Here was a woman, a cleaner, no less, who possessed a skill that many professionals would envy. In his line of work, communication was everything. Guests came from all over the world, each carrying their own expectations and needs. Understanding their language and culture was crucial to providing exceptional service. Yet, despite employing hundreds of people, Mr. Langley had never encountered anyone with such linguistic versatility. Finally, Elena turned around and saw Mr. Langley standing there. For a moment she froze, unsure of why he was watching her. Had she done something wrong? Was there a problem with the room? Her mind raced with questions as she set down her cleaning supplies and faced him nervously. "Good afternoon," Mr. Langley said, breaking the silence. His tone was warm and friendly, putting Elena slightly at ease. "I hope I'm not interrupting. I was passing by and couldn't help but overhear you. May I ask how many languages you speak?" Elena hesitated, feeling self-conscious. She had never thought much about her ability to speak multiple languages. It was simply something she had picked up over the years. Growing up in a multicultural neighborhood, she had been exposed to various languages from a young age. Later, as an adult, she continued learning new ones out of curiosity and passion. To her, it was just a hobby, a way to connect with the world around her. I think 9, she replied shyly, avoiding eye contact. 9? Mr. Langley repeated, his eyebrows raising in surprise. That's incredible. Tell me, have you ever considered using your talent in a professional capacity? Elena shook her head. No, sir. I've always been happy with my current role. Mr. Langley smiled thoughtfully. Well, perhaps it's time we reconsidered that. Would you mind joining me in my office later? There's something I'd like to discuss with you. With that, he excused himself and walked away, leaving Elena standing in stunned silence. She replayed the conversation in her mind, trying to make sense of what had just happened. Why had the hotel owner taken such an interest in her? What could he possibly want to discuss? Despite her confusion, Elena felt a flicker of excitement. For the first time in years, she allowed herself to imagine the possibility of change, a chance to step out of the shadows and embrace a new chapter in her life. After her unexpected encounter with Mr. Langley, Elena spent the rest of her shift in a daze. Her mind kept replaying the conversation, and she couldn't shake the feeling that something significant was about to happen. She tried to focus on her work, but her thoughts kept drifting back to his words. There's something I'd like to discuss with you. What could it possibly be? Elena had always been content with her role as a cleaner. It wasn't glamorous, but it paid the bills and she took pride in doing her job well. Yet deep down there was a part of her that yearned for more, a chance to do something meaningful, something that would make her feel truly valued. As the clock ticked closer to the end of her shift, Elena grew increasingly nervous. She changed out of her uniform and made her way to Mr. Langley's office, her heart pounding with anticipation. The hotel's corridors felt unusually quiet, amplifying the sound of her footsteps. When she reached the door, she hesitated for a moment, taking a deep breath before knocking softly. "Come in," came Mr. Langley's voice from inside. Elena pushed the door open and stepped into the room. Mr. Langley's office was spacious and elegant, with large windows overlooking the city skyline. A polished mahogany desk sat at the center, surrounded by shelves lined with books and awards. The atmosphere was both intimidating and inspiring, and Elena felt even more out of place than usual. "Ah, Elena," Mr. Langley said warmly, gesturing for her to take a seat. "Thank you for coming. Please have a seat." Elena nodded nervously and perched on the edge of the chair, her hands clasped tightly in her lap. She glanced around the room, trying to distract herself from the butterflies fluttering in her stomach. Finally, she turned her attention back to Mr. Langley, who was watching her with an encouraging smile. "I wanted to talk to you about what I overheard earlier today," he began. "Your ability to speak multiple languages is truly remarkable. How did you learn so many?" Elena hesitated, unsure of how to explain something that had come so naturally to her. I guess I've always been interested in languages," she said slowly. "Growing up, I lived in a neighborhood where people spoke different languages. I picked up bits and pieces from my neighbors, friends, and later from books and movies. I didn't really think much of it. It was just something I enjoyed doing." Mr. Langley nodded thoughtfully. "It's clear that you have a gift. Not everyone can learn 9 languages, let alone use them so fluently. But what impresses me most is your passion for learning. That's a quality we value highly here at the hotel." Elena blushed at the compliment, unused to being praised for something she considered a personal hobby. "Thank you, sir," she murmured. "But I don't see how it's relevant to my current role." "That's exactly what I wanted to discuss with you," Mr. Langley replied. He leaned forward slightly, his expression serious yet kind. "Elena, our guests come from all over the world. They bring with them diverse backgrounds, expectations, and needs. Communication is key to ensuring their stay is comfortable and memorable. We already have staff members who speak multiple languages, but none with your level of versatility. I believe you could play a vital role in enhancing our guest experience." Elena stared at him, stunned. Was he suggesting what she thought he was suggesting? "Are you saying—" She trailed off, unable to finish the sentence. "Yes? Mr. Langley said with a smile. "I'd like to offer you a new position, Guest Relations Manager. Your responsibilities would include assisting international guests, resolving any language-related issues, and helping to create personalized experiences for them. You'd also serve as a bridge between our staff and visitors, ensuring smooth communication at all times." For a moment, Elena was speechless. The idea of transitioning from a cleaner to a managerial role seemed almost surreal. She had never imagined herself in such a position, let alone dreamed of it. But as she sat there listening to Mr. Langley's words, she felt a spark of excitement ignite within her. This was an opportunity to step out of the shadows, to prove to herself and to others that she was capable of more than anyone had ever given her credit for. I don't know what to say," Elena admitted, her voice trembling slightly. "This is such a big change. Are you sure I'm qualified for this?" Mr. Langley chuckled softly. "Elena, qualifications aren't everything. Skills can be taught, but qualities like empathy, adaptability, and cultural awareness are harder to find. You already possess those traits in abundance. And as for training, we'll provide all the support you need to succeed in this role." Elena took a deep breath, trying to process everything. On one hand, she was terrified of leaving behind the familiarity of her current job. On the other hand, she couldn't deny the thrill of possibility, the chance to grow, to challenge herself, and to make a difference. After a long pause, she looked up at Mr. Langley and nodded. "I'll do it," she said firmly, surprising even herself with her confidence. "Thank you for believing in me, sir. I won't let you down." Mr. Langley smiled, clearly pleased with her decision. "I have no doubt you'll excel in this role, Elena. Welcome to the team." As Elena left the office, her mind raced with thoughts of what lay ahead. She knew the road wouldn't be easy. There would be challenges, doubts, and moments of uncertainty. But for the first time in years, she felt hopeful. Hopeful not just for herself, but for the countless opportunities that awaited her in this new chapter of her life. Walking through the hotel's corridors, Elena couldn't help but notice how different everything felt. The same walls that had once seemed confining now appeared full of possibilities. The hum of conversations from guests no longer faded into the background. Instead, it filled her with excitement, reminding her of the diverse world she was now poised to embrace. That evening, as she walked home, Elena allowed herself to dream. She imagined greeting guests in their native languages, making them feel welcome and understood. She pictured herself solving problems, building connections, and creating memories that would last a lifetime. For the first time, she realized that her love for languages wasn't just a hobby. It was a gift, one that could touch lives in ways she had never imagined. The days following her meeting with Mr. Langley were a whirlwind of emotions for Elena. On one hand, she was thrilled by the opportunity to step into a new role that promised growth and fulfillment. On the other hand, doubt lingered in the corners of her mind. Could she really handle the responsibilities of being a guest relations manager? She had spent years blending into the background as a cleaner, quietly doing her job without drawing attention to herself. Now she was expected to step into the spotlight, interact directly with guests, and take charge of situations that required quick thinking and diplomacy. It felt like stepping onto an entirely different stage. Her first challenge came almost immediately: training. Though Mr. Langley had assured her that support would be provided, Elena quickly realized just how much there was to learn. The hotel's operations were far more complex than she had ever imagined. From understanding reservation systems to mastering protocols for handling complaints, every aspect of the job seemed daunting at first. Her trainer, a seasoned professional named Clara, was patient but firm. "You'll get the hang of it," Clara reassured her during their sessions. "It's all about practice and confidence." But confidence wasn't something that came easily to Elena. During her early days in the new role, she often found herself second-guessing her decisions. Would she say the wrong thing? Would she offend someone unintentionally? These fears weighed heavily on her, especially when interacting with high-profile guests who demanded perfection. Yet, despite her insecurities, Elena refused to give up. She reminded herself why she had accepted the position in the first place: to prove to herself that she was capable of more. One of her earliest assignments involved assisting a Japanese couple who were celebrating their anniversary at the hotel. They had requested special arrangements including traditional decorations and a private dinner overlooking the city. When Elena approached them to confirm the details, she greeted them in fluent Japanese. Their eyes lit up with surprise and delight. "You speak our language?" the wife asked, clearly impressed. "Yes, ma'am," Elena replied with a smile. "I wanted to make sure everything is perfect for your special occasion." Over the next hour, Elena worked closely with the couple, ensuring every detail met their expectations. She coordinated with the kitchen staff to prepare authentic dishes, arranged for delicate paper lanterns to adorn the dining area, and even helped select music that evoked the ambiance of Kyoto. By the end of the evening, the couple was overjoyed. As they left the restaurant, the husband turned to Elena and bowed deeply. "Thank you," he said sincerely. "This has been one of the most memorable nights of our lives." That moment marked a turning point for Elena. For the first time, she truly believed in her abilities. The praise from the Japanese couple boosted her confidence, and she began to approach her work with renewed enthusiasm. Over the weeks that followed, she handled increasingly challenging situations, each one teaching her valuable lessons about communication, empathy, and problem-solving. Not everyone was supportive of her transition, however. Some of her colleagues struggled to accept that a former cleaner could now hold a managerial position. Whispers echoed through the staff lounge, questioning whether Elena was qualified for the role. A few even went out of their way to undermine her authority, refusing to follow her instructions or treating her requests as optional. At first, these challenges left Elena feeling disheartened. But instead of letting negativity consume her, she chose to rise above it. She decided to lead by example. Whenever a guest issue arose, Elena tackled it head-on, demonstrating professionalism and competence. If a colleague hesitated to cooperate, she took the time to explain her reasoning and involve them in finding solutions. Slowly but surely, her dedication began to win people over. Even those who had initially doubted her started to see her in a new light. Her ability to remain calm under pressure and her genuine care for both guests and coworkers earned her respect throughout the hotel. One particularly memorable incident cemented Elena's reputation among the staff. A Brazilian family staying at the hotel encountered visa issues while trying to extend their stay. Frustrated and anxious, they approached the front desk, speaking rapidly in Portuguese. None of the receptionists on duty spoke the language fluently, leaving the situation unresolved and escalating tensions. Hearing the commotion, Elena rushed to the scene. "Please allow me to assist," she said calmly, addressing the family in Portuguese. Instantly, their expressions softened. Over the next hour, Elena listened attentively to their concerns, translated their needs to the appropriate authorities, and worked tirelessly to resolve the issue. By the time the matter was settled, the family was visibly relieved and grateful. They thanked Elena profusely, calling her a guardian angel who had saved their vacation. Word of this incident spread quickly among the staff. Those who had once doubted Elena's capabilities now regarded her with admiration. Her multilingual skills weren't just a novelty, they were a lifeline in moments of crisis. More importantly, her actions demonstrated the kind of leadership the hotel needed: compassionate, resourceful, and unwavering. As weeks turned into months, Elena continued to grow into her role. She implemented small but impactful changes to improve guest experiences. For instance, she introduced language cards at the concierge desk, allowing guests to identify their preferred language and receive tailored assistance. She also organized informal workshops where employees could share cultural insights and tips for better communication with international visitors. These initiatives not only enhanced the hotel's reputation, but also fostered a sense of unity among the staff. Looking back on her journey so far, Elena marveled at how much she had accomplished. What had once seemed impossible now felt natural. She no longer questioned whether she belonged in her new role. Instead, she embraced it wholeheartedly. Every day brought new challenges, but also new opportunities to learn and grow. And though she still cleaned rooms occasionally, just to remind herself of where she had started, she did so with pride, knowing that her hard work and determination had opened doors she never thought possible. Elena's transformation was proof that talent and potential could be found in the most unexpected places. All it took was someone willing to notice and believe. As the months passed, Elena's role as guest relations manager became increasingly central to the hotel's success. Her unique combination of linguistic skills, cultural awareness, and genuine empathy transformed the way guests experienced their stays. The hotel, once known simply as a luxurious accommodation option, began earning a reputation for being a place where every visitor felt truly seen and heard. And much of that change could be attributed to Elena's efforts. One of her most significant contributions was her ability to handle delicate situations with grace and efficiency. In an industry where complaints and misunderstandings were inevitable, Elena stood out for her calm demeanor and creative problem-solving. For instance, there was the case of a German businessman who arrived at the hotel only to discover that his reservation had been mistakenly canceled due to a system error. Furious and exhausted from a long flight, he stormed into the lobby, demanding immediate resolution. Elena, alerted by the front desk staff, approached him with a polite smile and greeted him in flawless German. "Guten Tag, mein Herr," she said warmly. "I understand you're experiencing an issue with your booking. Please allow me to assist you." The man's expression softened slightly at hearing his native language. He explained the situation, his frustration evident, but tempered by Elena's soothing tone. Within minutes, she had not only secured him a suite but also arranged complimentary meals and transportation during his stay. By the time they parted ways, the businessman's anger had dissolved into gratitude. Before leaving the hotel days, later he personally thanked Elena and left a glowing review online, praising her professionalism and kindness. Stories like this became commonplace under Elena's leadership. Guests frequently mentioned her by name in feedback forms, highlighting how her attentiveness made their visits unforgettable. But Elena didn't stop at individual interactions. She understood that improving guest relations required systemic changes, and she wasn't afraid to propose bold ideas. One such idea was the creation of a cultural ambassador program. Recognizing that many employees lacked the confidence or tools to engage effectively with international guests, Elena suggested organizing monthly workshops focused on language basics and cultural etiquette. These sessions weren't mandatory. They were optional, but Elena encouraged participation by framing them as opportunities for personal growth rather than additional work duties. To make the program more engaging, she incorporated interactive activities, such as mock scenarios and trivia games about global traditions. The response was overwhelmingly positive. Employees who had previously felt intimidated by foreign languages began picking up useful phrases, while others discovered newfound appreciation for cultures they knew little about. Over time, the entire staff grew more comfortable interacting with guests from diverse backgrounds. Even small gestures like greeting someone in their native tongue or knowing which customs to respect made a world of difference. Guests noticed and appreciated the extra effort, leading to higher satisfaction rates and repeat bookings. Beyond her work with guests and staff, Elena also took steps to modernize the hotel's communication strategies. She collaborated with the IT department to develop a multilingual chatbot for the hotel's website, enabling potential guests to ask questions in their preferred language before arriving. Additionally, she introduced translation apps to key departments, ensuring that no language barrier would go unresolved. These innovations streamlined operations and reduced misunderstandings, further enhancing the hotel's reputation for excellence. Despite her growing list of accomplishments, Elena remained humble. She never sought recognition for herself. Instead, she credited her team for their hard work and dedication. However, it was impossible to ignore the impact she had made. Under her guidance, the hotel received several prestigious awards, including one for outstanding guest experience. When Mr. Langley announced the news during a staff meeting, he specifically acknowledged Elena's contributions, calling her the heart and soul of our success. While external accolades were gratifying, what mattered most to Elena was the sense of purpose she found in her new role. Every day brought fresh challenges, but also countless moments of connection. Whether it was helping a nervous bride navigate last-minute wedding preparations or calming a frantic parent whose child had wandered off in the hallway, Elena thrived on making a difference. Her colleagues often joked that she had a sixth sense for anticipating problems before they arose, but in reality, it was her deep understanding of human emotions that set her apart. Of course, not everything went smoothly. There were still difficult days, times when even Elena's best efforts couldn't fix a situation or when criticism from dissatisfied guests stung more than expected. Yet these moments only strengthened her resolve. Instead of dwelling on setbacks, she used them as learning opportunities, constantly refining her approach to better serve those around her. Her journey wasn't without its sacrifices either. Balancing her responsibilities at the hotel with her personal life proved challenging at times. Late nights and early mornings became routine, and weekends off were rare. Friends and family occasionally expressed concern about how much she poured into her work, but Elena reassured them that she was happy. For the first time in her life, she felt aligned with her true potential, a feeling worth any amount of effort. By the end of her second year in the role, Elena had become an integral part of the hotel's identity. Guests returning for repeat visits often asked for her by name, trusting her to ensure their stays were seamless. Colleagues looked up to her as a mentor, seeking her advice on everything from conflict resolution to career advancement. Even Mr. Langley, who had initially recognized her talent, admitted privately that hiring her as guest relations manager was one of the best decisions he'd ever made. But perhaps the most profound change occurred within Elena herself. What had started as a leap of faith, a chance to step out of the shadows, had blossomed into a transformation that touched every aspect of her life. She no longer doubted her abilities or questioned her worth. Instead, she embraced her strengths, using them to uplift others and create meaningful experiences. Her story served as a reminder that greatness often lies hidden in plain sight, waiting for the right moment to shine. As she walked through the hotel's bustling corridors, Elena couldn't help but reflect on how far she had come. From quietly cleaning rooms to standing at the forefront of guest relations, her journey was proof that opportunity could arrive in the most unexpected ways. And though she knew there would always be challenges ahead, she faced them with the same determination and optimism that had brought her this far. Little did she know, however, that her influence was destined to extend far beyond the walls of the hotel. Unbeknownst to Elena, her inspiring story was about to inspire others in ways she could never have imagined. Elena's journey from cleaner to guest relations manager had already transformed her life in ways she never thought possible. But what she didn't realize was that her impact would ripple far beyond the confines of the hotel. Over time, her story began to spread, not just within the hospitality industry, but across communities and even countries. It wasn't long before people started referring to her as the woman who turned whispers into words. The turning point came when a journalist visiting the hotel decided to write a feature on Elena's remarkable rise. During his stay, he noticed how seamlessly guests interacted with staff, particularly noting Elena's ability to bridge cultural gaps with ease. Intrigued, he asked around and learned about her background, how she had once been a cleaner and how her hidden talent for languages had changed her career trajectory. The article, titled "From Shadows to Spotlight: The Cleaner Who Redefined Hospitality," appeared in a prominent international magazine. Overnight, Elena became an inspiration to thousands. The response was overwhelming. Messages poured in from readers around the world, many of whom shared their own stories of feeling overlooked or undervalued. Some were cleaners, waiters, or factory workers who saw themselves in Elena's journey. Others were professionals stuck in dead-end jobs, yearning for change. What resonated most deeply with people was her message, that everyone has untapped potential waiting to be discovered, and sometimes, all it takes is one person willing to notice. Inspired by the outpouring of support, Elena realized she had an opportunity to do more than just improve guest experiences at the hotel. She wanted to empower others like her, people whose talents might go unnoticed because of societal biases or personal insecurities. With this vision in mind, She founded a nonprofit organization called Voices Unseen. Its mission was simple yet powerful: to identify and nurture hidden skills among marginalized workers, helping them unlock opportunities they never dreamed possible. To get the initiative off the ground, Elena partnered with local businesses, educational institutions, and community organizations. Together, they developed programs designed to provide training, mentorship, and resources to individuals eager to grow. For example, one program focused on teaching underprivileged youth basic coding skills, while another helped domestic workers develop entrepreneurial ventures. Elena also introduced language workshops similar to those she had implemented at the hotel, believing that communication was key to breaking barriers. Her work quickly gained traction, drawing attention from global leaders in both business and philanthropy. Speaking engagements followed, with Elena sharing her story at conferences, universities, and corporate events. Her talks weren't just motivational speeches, they were calls to action. "Every voice matters," she would say, her eyes scanning the audience. "Talent isn't defined by titles or positions. It's found in the quiet moments, the unseen efforts, the everyday acts we take for granted. We must learn to listen, to truly hear what others are capable of." One of the most impactful projects Elena spearheaded was a documentary series titled Hidden Talents. The series highlighted real-life stories of ordinary people achieving extraordinary things despite challenging circumstances. From a street vendor in Mumbai who taught himself graphic design using free online tools to a single mother in Chicago who launched a successful catering business after years of working minimum wage jobs, each episode celebrated resilience and ingenuity. Elena served as both producer and narrator, ensuring the stories remained authentic and inspiring. As Voices Unseen expanded, so did its reach. Corporations began adopting Elena's model, implementing internal programs to recognize and elevate overlooked employees. Schools incorporated her teachings into their curricula, encouraging students to explore unconventional paths to success. Even governments took note, partnering with Elena to create policies aimed at reducing workplace inequality and fostering inclusivity. Despite her growing fame, Elena remained grounded. She continued working at the hotel, believing that staying connected to her roots kept her humble and focused. Though her role evolved over time, eventually transitioning to a consulting position where she mentored new managers, she made it a point to visit the cleaning staff regularly. Sitting down with them during breaks, she listened to their concerns, offered advice, and reminded them of their worth. To her, they were living proof that greatness could emerge from anywhere. Years later, when reflecting on her legacy, Elena often thought back to the day Mr. Langley had walked into that suite and heard her speaking 9 languages. That moment had set everything in motion, but it wasn't the defining factor of her success. What truly mattered was her willingness to embrace change, her determination to overcome self-doubt, and her commitment to lifting others along the way. Today, Elena's name is synonymous with empowerment. Her nonprofit has touched millions of lives, and her philosophy, that every individual has value, is woven into the fabric of countless organizations worldwide. Yet perhaps her greatest achievement lies not in the accolades or recognition she received, but in the ripple effect of her actions. By stepping into the spotlight herself, she gave permission to others to shine. On quiet evenings when the city lights twinkled outside her window, Elena liked to imagine all the lives she had touched. Somewhere, a young cleaner might be humming songs in multiple languages, unaware of the doors that awaited them. A shy teenager might be tinkering with code late at night, dreaming of creating something revolutionary, and a weary parent juggling endless responsibilities might find solace in knowing that their hard work mattered, that their dreams were valid. Elena knew her journey wasn't perfect. There had been struggles, doubts, and moments of exhaustion. But through it all, she had held on to one truth: that everyone deserves a chance to be seen, to be valued, to be given the tools to thrive. Her story was no longer just hers. It belonged to anyone who dared to believe in their own potential. And so, as she looked out at the bustling streets below, Elena smiled. The world was full of untapped talents, hidden voices, and unspoken dreams. All it took was someone willing to listen, and maybe, just maybe, to speak up first.